Welcome back, Love Nation. This is Nina. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Thank you to everybody that has been coming to my channel. Like this video, share this video, and hit that notification bell so you guys know when I drop my next one. You guys, this is the Diddy Superseding Indictment Part 2 that just dropped a few days ago. I want to make sure I read this document in full for you guys. Again, this is a breaking news superseding indictment, and this is Part 2, so here we go, guys. Preserving, protecting, promoting, and enhancing the power of the Combs enterprise, including the power of its leader, Combs, through using pow-pows, threats, coercion, and verbal, emotional, physical, and other things. Fulfilled his personal desires, which particularly those related to Combs' own gratification, including through the exploitation of women and the use of commercial workers, enabling Combs and others members and associates of the Combs enterprise to engage in unlawful acts, including adult activities, traffic, forced labor, interstate transportation for the purpose of adult activity, coercion, and enticement to engage in adult activity, pharmaceutical distribution, and other crimes, and concealing the commission of such acts. Securing absolute loyalty for members of the Combs enterprise, including through acts, include protecting the Combs enterprise and its members and associates, including Combs, from the detection of prosecution by law enforcement authorities through acts of intimidation, manipulation, bribery, threats of retaliation against individuals who witness the crimes committed by members and associates of the enterprise. Next chapter, means and methods of the enterprise. Among the means and methods by which Sean Combs, the defendant, and other members and associates of the Combs enterprises conducted and participated in the conduct of the affairs of Combs enterprises included the following. Combs and other members and associates of the Combs enterprise wielded the power and prestige of Combs' role at the Combs business to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into Combs' orbit, often under the pretense of a romantic relationship. Combs then used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims, including but not limited to 3 female victims, Victim 1, Victim 2, and Victim 3, to engage in commercial acts. In connection with the commercial acts, Combs provided the victims with, among other things, monetary payment, career opportunities, and payment of rent and housing expenses. Some of the commercial acts involved male commercial workers and were referred to by Combs as, among other things, freak-offs. Freak-offs were elaborate and produced adult activities that Combs arranged, directed, and oftentimes participated and recorded. In arranging these freak-offs, Combs, with the assistance of other members and associates of the Combs enterprise, transported and caused to be transported commercial workers across state lines and internationally. Freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasting multiple days, and often involved multiple commercial workers. During freak-offs, Combs distributed a variety of controlled pharmaceuticals to his victims, in part to keep the victims obedient and compliant, sometimes unbeknownst to the victims. Combs kept videos he filmed of his victims engaging in such acts with commercial workers. After freak-offs, Combs and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and pharmaceutical use. Members and associates of Combs enterprise, including high-ranking supervisors, security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and other Combs business employees facilitated the freak-offs by, among other things, booking hotel rooms for freak-offs, stocking the hotel rooms in advance with required supplies, including controlled substances, baby oil, lubricant, extra linen, and lighting, cleaning the hotel's rooms afterwards, to try to mitigate room damage, and arranging for travel for victims, commercial workers, and Combs to and from these events, resupplying Combs with requested supplies, delivering large sums of cash to Combs to pay the commercial workers, scheduling the delivery of IV fluids. In or about March of 2024, during searches of Combs' residence in Miami, Florida, and LA, law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including pharmaceuticals and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. Other commercial adult activities involved only Combs and a female victim. As with freak-offs, other members and associates of the Combs enterprise assisted with arrangement for these commercial acts, including by arranging travel and accommodations for victims. At times, Combs, with the assistance of other members and associates of the enterprise, transported and caused to be transported victims across state lines and internationally in connection with commercial acts. Like the freak-offs, these commercial acts involving Combs and a female victim was prearranged, sometimes lasted multiple days, were sometimes electronically recorded by Combs, and often involved Combs distributing a variety of controlled pharmaceuticals to the victim, in part to keep the victim obedient and compliant. Combs subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse to cause the victims to engage in said freak-offs and other commercial adult activity acts. Combs maintained control over his victims through, among other things, physical, pawing, promises of career and financial opportunities, granting and threatening to withhold financial support, and by other coercive means, including trafficking their whereabouts, dictating the victim's appearance, monitoring their medical records, controlling their housing, and supplying them with controlled substances. During and separate from freak-offs and other commercial acts, Combs, among other things, put his hands on, feet on, and threw objects at and dragged victims at times by their hair. These instances often resulted in injuries that took days or weeks to heal. Following these incidents, Combs, with the assistance of members and associates of his enterprise, frequently worked to conceal his misconduct by offering to provide medical assistance or other financial benefits to the victims. Combs often threatened victims' careers and livelihoods, including if they resisted engaging in said acts with Combs, and at times with Combs and male commercial workers. Victims believed they could not refuse Combs' demands without risking their financial or job security or without repercussions in form of physical or emotional abuse. Combs also used sensitive, embarrassing, and incriminating recordings that he made during freak-offs as collateral to ensure that the continued obedience and silence of the victims. Members and associates of Combs' enterprise, including Combs' security personnel, at times carried pow-pows. On more than one occasion, Combs himself carried or brandished pow-pows to intimidate and threaten others, including victims of and witnesses to his abuse. In or about March 2024, during searches of Combs' residence in Miami and LA, law enforcement seized pow-pows, ammunition including 3 large pow-pows, defaced serial numbers, as well as magazines. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise enabled Combs' control over victims by following his directions regarding financial payments to victims, advancing or suppressing victims' career opportunities, and acquiring the controlled substances Combs used to keep his victims compliant. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise at time witnessed Combs' activities toward the victims or the victims' injuries caused by Combs without intervening. Instead, members and associates of the Combs enterprise helped conceal the incidents by, among other things, assisting Combs to monitor and prevent victims from leaving locations such as hotels or Combs' residence. These occasions included instances in which a victim was required to remain in hiding, sometimes for several days at a time, to recover from injuries Combs had inflicted without being publicly observed. Members and associates of Enterprise also assisted Combs in locating and contacting victims who attempted to flee his abuse. When employees witnessed to his abuse or other threatened Combs' authority or reputation, Combs and his members and associates of the enterprise engaged in acts of threats, of putting hands on, financial or reputational harm. These acts of incidents included setting fires and multiple acts of keeping people against their will, including one instance of keeping someone against their will, during which Combs carried and displayed a pow-pow. In addition, on multiple occasions, Combs threw objects and people, as well as put his hands on, dragged, choked, shoved other people. On one occasion, Combs dangled a victim over an apartment balcony. When Combs' authority or reputation was threatened by the possibility of negative publicity or legal or law enforcement action against him, including in or about late 2023, following public allegations of Combs' crimes, Combs and members and associates of the enterprise pressured witnesses and victims, including through attempted bribery, to stay silent and not report what they experienced or knew to law enforcement. On phone calls, Combs and other members and associates of the enterprise, among other things, provided these victims and witnesses with false narrative of events in an effort to conceal Combs' crimes. Combs caused these calls to be recorded on at least 2 occasions. I will end part 2 right here. As we continue to read, these are stunning allegations. A lot of this seemed to have to do with Cassidy. However, a victim 2 and victim 3 was also included. So I'm very curious as to who those people are and why they are not named here. Again, this is the end of part 2 of the Superseding Indictment reading. We will continue with part 3 shortly. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, be safe and enjoy your day. Bye, guys.